This video will cover 3 grammar points in 第7课对话1 Lesson 7 Dialogue 1. And the grammar points I'm going to cover in this video are grammar point number 3, 就, grammar point number 4, double objects, and grammar point number 6, 有一点儿 or 有点儿. I recommend that you read the book also to see what the book has to say about these. Grammar point number 3 talks about the usage of this adverb 就. 就 is used in front of a verb, and there are 2 ways that it's used in this lesson. First, 就 can indicate that an action will happen very soon in the near future, or 2, it indicates an action that will happen earlier than expected. Let's look at the first usage, using 就 to indicate an action that will happen very soon in the near future. Subject time 就 verb. And of course, you may have an object of the verb too. But let's take a look at some examples. 我们现在就写 We'll write right now. When you say let's write right now, you're really saying let's write ASAP, meaning in the very near future. 爸爸明天就回来 Dad will come back tomorrow. And the 就 here indicates that the speaker feels that 明天 is in the near future. So 就, both of these emphasize that these actions are going to happen in the near future. The second usage of 就 is to indicate that an action happened earlier than expected or will happen earlier than expected. And here is the structure. Subject plus time plus 就plus verb and an optional 了. So let's look at some examples. 弟弟昨天晚上7点半就睡觉了. Little brother went to bed last night at 7:30. And the 就 indicates that the speaker feels that 7:30 is very early. It's earlier than expected. Let's look at the second example. 我的朋友15岁就上大学了. My friend went to college at the age of 15. And so the speaker feels that a friend going to college at 15 is earlier than expected. And I would agree. When you're talking about something that happened in the past, you will have to have the 了 in here. Let's compare 才 and 就. If you recall, 才 indicates that something happens later than expected, while 就 indicates that something happens earlier than expected. So let's compare these 2 examples. 我们8点上课，小白7点就来了. We start class at 8 o'clock. 小白 came at 7 o'clock. 就来了. 小白 came at 7, and the speaker feels that 7 o'clock is earlier than expected. So you can translate it as 小白 came early at 7 o'clock. The second one, 我们8点上课，小高9点才来. We start class at 8 o'clock, and 小高 didn't come until 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is rather late, right? And it's later than the speaker expected. Now let's look at grammar point number 4, double objects. Just like in English, there are certain verbs in Chinese that can take on 2 objects. And let me give you a quick review of what this means. Subject plus verb plus indirect object and direct object. That's the order that it occurs in Chinese. And here's an example. I give you a ball. I is the subject, give is the verb, you is the indirect object, ball is direct object. And in Chinese, it's just like in English. 我给你一个球, I give you a ball. If you don't want to bother with trying to figure out which one's the indirect and which one's the direct object, let's remember it this way. Subject plus verb plus the recipient first, and then the object. 哥哥给我一瓶可乐. Older brother gives me, the recipient, a bottle of cola. 我问您几个问题 I ask you a few questions. 您 is the recipient of the questions. 老师教我们生词和语法 Teacher teaches us vocabulary and grammar. Again, 我们 is the recipient of the vocabulary and the grammar that is being taught. I'm now going to go over briefly grammar number 6, 有一点儿. Notice the E and R are in parentheses, so they're optional. You can say it as 有一点儿 or as 有点儿 or 有一点 or 有点. 有一点儿 is used in front of an adjective or a verb, but usually it's a psychological verb, verbs that describe emotion. So like 喜欢, like, or 讨厌, dislike. 有一点 is often translated as a bit, a little, or a little too, or a bit too. And it's a little bit of this quality or this feeling expressed in the adjective or verb that follows 有一点. Let's take a look at how these translations work in these two examples. The first example says 第7课的生词有一点多. Lesson 7's vocabulary is a little much or a lot, right? 多 means a lot or much or many. And so basically you're saying there are a little too many vocabulary words in lesson 7. So in this case, a little too or a bit too seems to work better. Let's look at this one. 中文课有一点难. Chinese class is a bit difficult. In this case, a little, a bit work very well. But I am now going to offer you an alternative. And the alternative is kind of. Yeah, kind of. Let's try it out. 第7课的生词有一点多. Lesson 7's vocabulary is kind of a lot. Or, Lesson 7 kind of has a lot of vocabulary. And the second one, 中文课有一点难. Chinese class is kind of difficult. Hey, that works pretty well too. So use kind of. If a bit, a little, or a little too don't quite work, try kind of. Don't confuse 有一点 plus adjective or psychological verb with 一点 plus noun. Let's look at this example. 请给我一点水. 我的杯子有一点脏. 脏 means dirty. 请给我一点水. Please give me a little bit of water. So a small quantity of water. 我的杯子有一点脏. My cup is a little dirty. In other words, my cup's kind of dirty. That's all I have to say about grammar points 3, 4, and 6 in your textbook. I'd recommend that you read all the grammar points in your textbook because the textbook offers many more examples. I hope that this was helpful. 希望对你有帮助. 再见.